What's up guys, Bramsy here and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to be using the Lachman AR in ranked play, giving it a go. I've seen a couple of videos recently of this gun being used in ranked play and I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about it, see how I thought about it, and we're also going to discuss a couple of topics regarding Major 5, so I thought combine the two in a video. So for a start, this Lachman AR, what I'll do at the end of the video, I'll post a photo of the class setup. It's changed ever so slightly since the time of recording this video. We no longer use the red dot on it. Pretty much other than that, it's the same. So let's talk about this gun quickly before we get into Major 5. This gun's a weird one. I mean, it's good for certain maps, especially the smaller maps. But to be honest, it doesn't compete with the TAC 56 at long range. It's one of those guns that's kind of good for competing with the Vazzy at close to mid-range. It can do the job, but again, for me, the TAC 56 is still far superior, especially for those long-distance gunfights. But you'll see in this video that in a couple of occasions, this gun come in clutch, to be honest with you, and won me a hell of a lot of gunfights, especially that bridge hill. It was kind of crucial for that. But as I say, enjoy the gameplay. Let me know what you think of this gun. Obviously, if you have used it, and if you haven't used it, let me know what your thoughts are. As I say, it could be better, but it's not too bad. Anyway, into the Major 5 discussion. Now, I have to obviously make this relatively quick because the video's not long enough. But I posted on my Twitter account, which you can go ahead and follow me in the description below. The link is there. My predictions to Major 5. And let's just say I couldn't have been any further wrong if I tried. So I actually had Optic to win the entire Major, which couldn't have been any worse. That obviously didn't happen. They actually placed top 12, which for me and for a lot of fans and for Optic as well, it's probably one of the worst finishes they've ever had, if not the worst finish they've ever had. And I think as a team you have to then sit there and reevaluate, is it the squad, is it the situation? Now, I went ahead and put them to win the Major simply due to qualifiers and how good of a qualifiers they actually had. What I didn't take into account is the curse that exists with Optic of not being able to form on land. That has never changed since day dot. Always been the same. What I'll do as well, guys, by the way, I'll put a picture of my predictions on screen for you now as well, so you can just see where I was at with it. So, as I say, Optic going out straight away, losing 3-0 to Mutineers in the winners, and then obviously going out to Thieves. Thieves is a hard game to go into your first losers bracket, by the way. Thieves do not belong in the losers bracket. Again, though, Thieves were an interesting one. Like, going out to Ultra, I kind of expected. If I'm honest, my top 3 were always going to be Ultra, Optic, and FaZe. I kind of did not see Subliners doing what they'd done, but congratulations to them. And as I say, this Major was kind of weak to a degree. We had a lot of 3-0s, I noticed. So it kind of shows the lack of competition in a lot of these teams, as of recent, especially in this Major, as I say. But, you know, as I say, we had our ups. We had Simp going off, getting 3 pieces, 4 pieces, the whole lot, having search and destroys of his life. And we also had our downs.
Of all time, and he blew himself up? Yes. Oh, God! Well, there's Vegas' year in a nutshell.
I can imagine TJ wanted to leave the venue straight after that. But let's carry on talking about how individually some of the teams done. Now, me as a Royal Ravens fan, obviously seeing them come up against Breach and actually manage to get the dub, it was insane. It's probably the first win of the year. We haven't been very good all year round. So to go ahead and beat Breach, which again, they're not an amazing team, but they're one of these teams that they pull out results when you least expect them to, whereas Ravens have just full-blown had a write-off season all season long, to be honest. I mean, so to be able to actually win a game, a series at the Major, before we're no longer in the COD League anymore until next year, it was pretty good to see. Obviously, we had Mutineers beating Optic, which is absolutely huge for Mutineers. They not long went out, I believe, though, pretty much straight after to Rocker, and then they went out to Subliners, who went on to go and win the event, which, as I say, to me, I wouldn't have even put them in the top 3, top 4, so that's kind of insane from the Subliners. But Hydra is just built different, guys. That guy knows how to switch on and just turn into one of the best players in the game, if not the best sub in the game right now. I don't think there's anyone that kind of tops him, to be honest. FaZe, I always had in the final. Even in my predictions, I had FaZe in the final. I actually had Optic to beat FaZe. Just because Optic, you know, the history between Optic and FaZe, especially as of recent, FaZe cannot beat Optic. So the way I then see it, once Optic went out, was that FaZe have this in the bag. Because literally the only kryptonite of FaZe seemed to be Optic. Obviously, Subliners managed to prove me wrong with a bit of a bottle. from FaZe, obviously, but just insane. And as I say, Ultra going out to subliners, I never thought I'd see that either. Surge, I don't even know where to begin with Surge. I think Pred has lost Fall, to be honest, with that squad. And he just doesn't want to be there. It's kind of sad because you can kind of tell as well when watching it. And it's not nice, obviously. It's not vice vibes for the squad as well. Legion, going into this event, I really did expect better and bigger things from Legion. Especially how good of a qualifiers they had. And the fact that this could potentially be Clayster's last event. Which is really sad to think about as someone I've watched since day dot from the very beginning of starting competitive COD back in MW3. He was always there. So obviously to see Legion struggle like they did after having such a good qualifiers run was just... it was a shame. It was a real shame. But they managed to obviously beat Surge. They knocked Surge out almost instantly and then got 3-0'd by subliners. As I say, the common theme here, a lot of 3-0s going on. We also had, obviously, Grillers. They got wiped out almost instantly. Again, Grillers, almost like the Ravens. Obviously, I know we beat Breach, but that's kind of like a, that's a rarity that we've actually won any games this year. But, we're very similar, the Grillers and Ravens, in the fact that the squad depth, the squad ability is just not enough. And unfortunately, I don't think the investment of money comes into the squad enough to be able to actually revamp it. I mean, some of the decision-making of the Ravens at the end of Vanguard to be getting rid of Afro, to be dropping Zero in this mid-season as well. Some of the decisions that we made were just incredible, but I think it all comes down to financial. So, obviously, you can't comment too much because I can't imagine it's talent-related. It just doesn't make any sense. Rocker had a lot better of an event than I thought they were going to. I was quite surprised by Rocker's event. I say I was surprised, but... I mean, it's Attach, man. You bring Attach back. Obviously, Bance had an absolute blinder as well of an event. But as I say, that team there, I mean, with Attach on it as well, it's just unbelievable. I mean, Bance is really one of the best players in the game. Cammy too. I mean, you've got a genuine squad in Rocker. I just think if they tighten up on a few things, they could really go far in some of these events. Obviously, I'm hoping, that squad sticks together for the next Call of Duty, and we really see an improvement in their ability. Mutineers... they're an interesting one. Mutineers are one of these teams, again, very much like Breach. They're not really a standout team, but they're also not terrible. They kind of pick and choose when to perform, and it does feel like that. Especially, even subliners I'd put in that category, obviously, unless you're talking about Hydra in recent time. But I'd put them in similar categories in a sense of, randomly, they will just start performing. These are squads that can pull out results against big teams, but can also lose to pretty much anyone. And I think that's what's really good about this league this year, is that pretty much we're seeing results come out of teams that we never thought we'd see get results. Other than the Ravens, who have been consistently bad, pretty much every team has had their fair share of doing something really great, which is really good to see from a competitive standpoint. Obviously, you can't really just walk into games thinking it's going to be, it's going to be a whitewash. Obviously, you've got your odd teams like FaZe, for example, doing that, but I can't imagine anyone would have predicted that Optic would be top 12 and finish last in the whole event. Like, going out before the Ravens is probably unheard of, even Grillers to an extent. But obviously, congratulations to subliners. They deserved it in every way, shape or form. To beat FaZe the way they did is just... I mean, that final was one of the best finals. And, they proved me wrong every time. I mean, subliners have won 2 events this year, 2 majors. And, I mean, Hydra's just different. As I say, probably the best sub in the game, if not one of the best subs in the game right now. That guy he absolutely tears the league apart. Every time he plays is scary. It really is. But moving on from Major 5, we have our bracket for champs, which will appear on your screen now as well. So far in the winners bracket, we only have a winners bracket, but we have FaZe against Surge. My prediction there is FaZe to beat Surge quite easily as well. Ultra and Thieves. I actually think Ultra will do Thieves. For a long time, I thought Thieves were the better team, but I just think Ultra are definitely in form at the minute. Definitely a top 3 team, and they're like one of these dark horses that people don't really just talk about, but definitely, up there. And Optic, of course, hopefully should beat Breach, as long as the land curse doesn't attack them. And obviously Subliners and Rocker. That would be a really interesting game. Subliners obviously being favourites from winning the major, but I definitely think Rocker have something in them. I think Rocker could come back for revenge there, so I'm actually going to say Rocker take that. As I say, I'm really looking forward to champs. It's a shame, just because obviously this is kind of where the COD season comes to an end, and we get ready for the off season and then the next COD, and we start evaluating all that. But as I say, the Major 5, other than the disappointing just continuous 3-0s, it was a really good major nonetheless, a really good watch. And I honestly can't wait for champs. I think it's going to be a lot harder than we think to piece together teams on who's going to come out on top. My money's on FaZe. They've got to win event at some point, surely. You know, you'd like to think it. But again, I'd love to see Ultra do it. I'm going to be rooting for Ultra during that major. So hopefully we get to see Ultra do some damage. But that's going to be it for this video, guys. Just a quick little video for the gameplay, obviously using the Lachman AR, as well as talking about the event. And I will see you all in the next one. Peace. Bye.